Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. So today we have a very special friend of mine. I'm so excited to have her here. Jasmine is, I've known her for a little while from another course, and then she's actually now dating my mentor as well. So yeah, they're both very good friends of mine, and I'm very excited to have her here today. She will tell you all about her background, but she used to be a teacher and now she's an entrepreneur and does some crazy stuff. And even I reach out to her constantly going, how can you help? How can I do this? How can I do that? So it's going to be a good one today. So make sure, as usual, get a pen and piece of paper or even just put your listening ears on and just take one thing away from this episode. That's all you need to do in order to move forward. As Jasmine, our likable person, Tony Robbins said. That was a tongue tire. I lost myself there. Just 10% today will create massive impact in 365 days. So, as usual, I'm going to let Jasmine introduce herself, tell us a little bit about herself, what she does, where she come from, and yeah, we'll talk about burnout today. Go for it, Jazz.
Yeah, let's try and make burnout sexy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I lead a course creation agency. What that means is we take experts and we take that knowledge and wisdom and expertise that they have and translate it into a simple and fun learning experience for their students. So all the way from course outline to uploads, we do it all for you. We love to like take the weight off your shoulders. Now, I started, right? My background that contributes to this is teaching. So I was a kindergarten and first grade teacher for 4 years. My first school that I taught at was the lowest performing school in the entire United States. It was in Detroit, Michigan. And my kids were incredible, outstanding. I still dream about them once a week, like in their little 6-year-old bodies, like now they're, oh my gosh, they're probably like 14 or 15 at this, but like they just come up to me like they're little 6-year-olds, and they're definitely still in my unconscious. But that like really transformed me. That was where the burnout started. I feel like, I mean, it might have started sooner. It might have
Mm,
started sooner for achievers, right? As someone who had a family of scholars, of people who wanted to be the A player, of
mm,
people who worked really hard and were proud of that. And, like I saw my mom go through college. And so it might have even started, I never actually thought about that till the second, Chris, but like it might have got started sooner, like this
yeah.
whole burnout cycle. But it really came to a head, I think, when I was teaching, because, working 80-hour weeks, working at a school with 300% teacher turnover in 1 year,
Wow.
which means that some of our classrooms had 3 and 4 teachers in 1 year.
Wow.
And I was there for 3 years, and there was a group of us who we stuck it out, because at the end of the day, someone had to be there for the kids. And if it wasn't us, it probably wasn't going to, I mean, we weren't perfect. We were failing every day all the time, but if it wasn't us, it was going to be potentially someone who didn't care as much as we did, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
So yeah, that was really where that was the background that gives me the opportunity to do what I do now. Um, and it's also what kind of pulled me toward entrepreneurship, was the fact that I did get so burnt out in the classroom.
Mm. What do you classify burnout as for you, Jazz?
Uh, for me, it's usually has to do with like physical body well-being.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like that for everyone, if it's sometimes a mental fatigue or like a spiritual kind of, I don't know, dark night of the soul. But for me, it's not even that. It's not like a dark night of the soul. It's truly just my body gets sick in
Mm.
some way, shape, or form.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, and for me, it's that darkness within the soul, that kind of draining feeling that it's not so much physical. I can still go to the gym, throw iron around, and do it, but it's just I feel drained. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm lethargic. It's yeah. No, that's interesting. So you went through that, and I know a little bit about your journey coming up, but nobody else does. So what'd you do after teaching, and well, I guess what was the spark to actually go, hey, I don't want to do teaching anymore. Well, you've never really stopped teaching, but I don't want to be teaching in a classroom anymore. What is it that then sparked you to go, hey, actually, I am burned out. Enough of this. Let's move on.
I think I didn't know entrepreneurship was an opportunity. Like I didn't even see business as a possibility because I had no one in my life leading up until this point, where I'm a inner city school teacher that showed me that was an option, right? Like my dad's a chef, my mom's a nurse, all of our family works. All the adults I had access to as a kid, none of them owned a business.
Yeah.
Like none of them, not a single person. And so it wasn't even like a thought in my mind, like I could have my own business and run my own time or even be self-employed. Like that just didn't equate. And then my best friend, Ellen, she started with Beachbody, which is an MLM. I don't know if you guys have it in Australia. I don't think you do.
I've heard of it, but I don't know. It's not really a thing down here in New Zealand, but I have heard
Yeah.
of the beach body. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just joined it honestly because I was so burnt out. I was like, maybe I just need to lose 10 pounds and like I'll feel better about myself.
Yeah.
I was as far into personal development as I really went.
Yeah.
And so I joined. So she looked great. She was feeling really good. She had a lot of energy. I was really sick because I was really burnt out. This was year 3 of teaching. And I was like, all right, well, I need to try something. So I might as well try this.
Yeah.
So I joined with her. It was $160, which was like a 10th of my paycheck. Yeah. It was like a big deal, for me to like put that much money down on something. Cause that was like my food for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Like this was like, okay. So I was like, all right, well, I gotta try something. So I'm going to try this. And eventually I thought I really liked it. I liked the community. They made us read personal development. That was my entrance into the personal development world. Read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy was my first personal development book.
Gotcha.
And and then from there I thought, okay, well, I can try this. So I dabbled with coaching for a while, had a lot of results really quickly because I have this like integrator brain. I just can execute things really well.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was like a year and a half after that. I realized all of these other coaches had gone full time and like, I can do it too. And so then I did. And now I will say I drastically cut my expenses. I moved home, right? I had these parents who love me enough to say, okay, like 23-year-old, we get that you're really sick and you're exhausted and you're super burned out. So you can come live at home and build this business, without paying rent. And that's the only reason I could have done it. Like if I didn't have that privilege.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So what was the transition between, doing Beachbody? So you're looking after your health. You're going, hey, health. Okay, yep, personal development, that, to going, hey, I could be a coach.
I think it was really the idea that Beachbody was a great start, but I wasn't really making good money and I was working really hard. And now I was entering this cycle of entrepreneurial burnout, which is totally different than 9-to-5 burnout, because 9-to-5 burnout, you're supposed to be done at 5:00. And so when you're working at home till 9, cutting out, coloring stations for the next day, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But when you're an entrepreneur, there's no boundaries. And you're supposed to like create them all yourself. And you've never actually had the chance to figure out how you best work because you've always been like caught in the confines of what society says. This is what working is, 9-to-5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. So
it's like, now you have all of this freedom, which is equally as, it's equally a bringer of burnout, I think, as that 9-to-5. It's like entering entrepreneurship for the first time.
Yep. And
so when I realized, oh my gosh, I'm working just as much, but I'm making less money than I did as a teacher. I'm happier, but I'm not really fully like utilizing the extent of this freedom. Like, what do I do now? And I realized that the offer had to change. So who I worked with, how I worked with them, entering into the coaching space changed largely as a part of entrepreneurial burnout. Like I remember I would just like wake up, and this is when I felt less of the physical burnout, but at that mental burnout that you were talking about earlier, that's where this really came into play. Cause I would wake up like exhausted. Like I just want to watch TV all day. And then I would feel guilty because it's like, you just left a job. What are you doing? Not like, killing yourself to make your dream happen.
Yep.
like, dude, it probably took like 4 years of being in like my own business to understand how I best function, how my energy works, how I can be the most productive and really enjoy my life and also see the results I want in business.
So what is that? Because I know we learn from, obviously, as you know, we learn from other people's experiences. So for listeners and viewers, and I like to, you tell us what it is that, how did you shift after that 3 to 4 years of doing that? Because I've experienced it after a few years of doing my last program that I was running. It's like you go, 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 push, 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 and you're like, what is the point of, like, what am I actually getting out of this? um, yeah. So for you, what was it that kind of started to shift that, and what are the key things that you did shift and change?
Sure. I think a couple of things. First is having annual and quarterly goals.
Mm.
Like it sounds so stupid, but truly having like a quarterly debrief, like every 90 days, having 90-day sprints, like all the research says this. We cannot focus on one project for more than 90 days. So it's really, and it takes about 3 quarters to get it right, to understand this is what I can create in within 90 days. And not from a place of like, it's a stretch. It's like, no, like this is actually achievable. Like I can do these 3 things in the next 90 days, and that would move me toward my annual goal. And I mean, for a long time, I like listened to the whole 10x, like make a 10x goal and then you won't hit it, but you'll get closer than you did if you hit the achievable goal. That actually doesn't work for me. Like if I shoot for achievable goals that are like a little bit of a stretch but don't seem out of reach, I usually hit them and go over them.
Yeah.
But if I go for some crazy goal, I stall out, my mind gets all messed up. I can't, it just,
The
it just doesn't work. Yeah,
comes in because you don't think you'll actually even be able to
right,
do it. Yeah, I get the same thing.
right.
Okay,
Um,
so goals.
that's the first thing.
Yep.
And then the second thing is for all the lady listeners out there is cycle planning, because we
Ah,
as women have a completely different cycle than men. And if we look at the 9 to 5 kind of work environment that was created by men for men, and we can adjust into it for sure. But I think using cycle planning really changed the game because we have different strengths of different weeks, right? There's 4 kind of stages within a woman's entire
yep.
cycle. And when I plan my months around that, just ease flows in. Like for example, during one of the phases, you're supposed to be really social. And
Yep.
so that's when I'll plan my like go out, meet with people, do sales calls, close deals, and it's like I naturally have the energy for those things.
Yeah.
There's another one that's like all about ideas. And so that's when I do all my social content. That's when I do all my writing.
Yeah.
There's another that's all about completing tasks. And that's like we turn into a taskmaster and we just get stuff done.
Yeah.
And that, like, I swear I can get more done in half a day during that phase than I've ever seen any man do in a day.
So
Like
where do you learn more about that?
you can learn about it all over the internet.
All right,
Like
sweet. So just
there's all
Google it.
kinds of things. There's apps you can look at. Kate Northrup from the Do Less Planner, she talks about it a good bit. But yeah, just Google it and you'll find all kinds of resources.
Cool. Nah, so there you go, ladies. That's something I have never heard about before. So that is, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna look into that for my wife.
Yeah. And the app I use is called MyFlow, MyFLO. And there's even a sync your partner section where it will send you updates on her week based on where she is in her cycle.
I like it.
And it includes like the brain stuff, but it also says this is the best kind of exercise for your body this week. This is the best kind of food for your body for the week. Here's how you might feel sexually this week. Like it kind of breaks down all those different areas of life. So when you're feeling like, oh, I just really don't want to lift today. And then you go in your app and it's like, you're meant to do restorative things this week. You're like, oh, It like kind of gives you permission. And
Yeah.
then the third thing, I said, can I say one more?
You can definitely,
This
Jazz.
is super woo. I don't know how y'all feel about woo on this podcast, but it's super woo. It's called human design.
Human design.
And it uses your birth chart, meaning what the sky looked like, where were the different planets at your time in your birthplace. And it's kind of like a personality test. It lets you know like what's your personality type, what your strengths are, what you have energy for, what you don't have energy for, how you can manifest things based on who you are. And I have found it to be incredibly accurate. How you make decisions.
Okay.
So, and the Instagram I found is like the best source for that. Is if you just go on Instagram and type human design, you'll get a ton of different human design experts that you can follow and learn from.
Well, there you go. We could just end the podcast right there, and you'd have a whole ton of information. But we're not going to.
I'm a teacher, and you put me on a
I
podcast.
know exactly, exactly. There you go. So, if you have not gotten one thing out of this, I don't know where you've been or what you've been listening to, but I can tell you this: I just got two things out of that, and I just concreted in a third one. So, yeah, there you go. So awesome, Jazz. So that's what shifted you into this new era of not really burning out so much, really being able to listen to yourself, but also be the most productive that you can. Is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
The key things, the key three things. Okay, I love it. So, um, what is it that you do for your team? Because I know you have a team now. What is it that you do for your team to make sure? I know some of them are virtual, some aren't. What do you do for your team to make sure that they don't burn out?
I found that because of our core values, we attract people who are so excited and are so warm and welcoming and want to be such great team players. They have trouble setting boundaries.
Hmm.
So I um, work really hard to make sure that they are setting and honoring boundaries. Like, for example, not working on weekends. It's so stupid. We'd think like, of course they wouldn't work on weekends. Like, it's not even their business.
Hmm.
Like it's one thing to like, okay, I wake up on a Saturday and I make some breakfast and then, I get an idea for a post and I want to just do it now. And so I go in my office and I write the post and I'm done. Or, I'm into like following your energy. And so if you're working on the weekend because you feel like it, then like, that's cool, whatever. But like these girls have children. This is not their business. If they want to work on the weekend, it's cool, but they weren't working from that same place, right? They were working from this place of like, I took on too much. I told her I could do it at this time and I can't do it at that time. I set an agreement that I actually can't live up to because I don't have, like, my boundaries are not strong enough yet.
Yeah.
So I work really hard to make sure that they're honoring their boundaries. And then I also do as much as I can to help them develop themselves personally and professionally. But I let them design it. I let them design their own, where they want to work, like what they want to work towards. So like, for example, one of Dean Graziosi's books, Millionaire Success Habits, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
One of the girls texted it to me and she's like, hey, I think you know him. Like, what do you think of this book? And so I just sent it to the whole team.
Yeah.
Right? And now the whole we're all reading it at the same time.
Yeah.
Or things like one of my girls was really getting into video editing and she wanted more video editing projects. And I was like, okay, we'll go source a place for you to learn and like the business will pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to support them any way I can, personally and professionally. One of the things we're doing in December as a team is personal goal setting for 2022.
Yeah.
So we're all getting together and they were like, so it's not business stuff. And I was like, no, this is like, I want you to be a happy, healthy, fulfilled person.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of experience in this personal development world. So how can I support you as you kind of learn and evolve? Because I think those of us, especially like influencers, thoughtpreneurs, coaches, consultants, we forget that most of our team, like most of the people you find on the internet and hire, have no idea about any of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And even in like big business, like I'm back into corporate now doing some stuff alongside with doing coaching. And it's amazing seeing, like, I actually, one of my values for going into coaching was that exact thing. What are they going to do? Well, how do they stand when it comes to development and personal development? And a couple of the directors are full on into it. So I'm like, yes. Couple are kind of like, about it. I'm like, but the ones that are into it are the ones that I deal with on a day to day. And so I'm
Mhm.
like, this is awesome because they want my experience. They want me to
Yeah.
come to the table with stuff. And so it's getting, and it's figuring out again what works for them. That is awesome. Um, Now, we've talked about this before, the why and everything. As viewers and listeners, if they're new, they haven't heard it, but I'm a huge why guy. Currently, we're in the process of, well, there is a new coaching program called Create from Why that's happening. And it's all about finding your why and creating the dream life that you want. So, and because I honestly believe and have done research and testing on people that when you find your why, and most entrepreneurs that are successful know it already and they drive from it, you're unstoppable. My why is to create less pain for myself and others. And if I add on actually the whole statement, to create the best version of ourselves. So, and this is why this podcast was started. This is why I've joined the police. This is why I've done everything that I've done. And I'm now doing financial stuff as well as coaching and well as creating this course. So, Jasmine, what's your why?
My why, this insight brought to you by Chris, is to have fun and find joy. Be joy, I guess, might even be better. I think a lot of times when it comes to our why, we think, at least I used to think, that your why is not right unless it comes from this powerful place of pain.
Mm.
Like, because even like I was at an event last week and all of the people on stage were telling their sob story. And I get it, it's powerful, but you hear 20 people in a row on a stage and they're all talking about their why from a place of pain. And it's like, does it have to be from this place of like poverty and abuse? And like, what about those of us who had a kick-ass childhood? Like, truly, my childhood was freaking awesome. And it just makes me wonder, okay, well, what does that look like for people like me, right?
Mm.
And I think the people who are like me and come from this place of like a positive childhood, a positive background, not creating from a place of pain, we don't say that because all we hear is everyone else talking about, the struggle.
Mm.
And sure, like I have struggles, but my why is not my why doesn't come from struggles. It comes from a place of joy. And, Chris, we talked about this a couple weeks ago and he's like, well, think about it. Your why is for you, but also your why is why you do things for others. And I think about like way, way, way back, like high school, that's not too far, but it's kind of far. You think about high school, I was super into band. I was super into music. I was a leader. And it was because it was freaking fun. I had a great time. I was surrounded by fun people. I like felt really good. I felt really confident. I was good at it. Like, okay, awesome. And then I went into college and I did music because guess what? It was fun,
Yep.
right? Now I went to Detroit and into Teach for America is how I ended up in Detroit because it was like a community. And I could see having that community and that adventure as fun. Now there were parts of it that were fun. It wasn't all fun. Right. But then if I look back at all of these moments in my life, it was like, there's newness, there's fun, there's joy. And it's not just joy for me, it's joy for the people I'm around, right? Like me being in this place, me doing this thing, whatever this thing I am doing also brings joy to others. And I feel it with the agency. My favorite call, I don't know if I told you this yet, favorite call, like as a part of our process or whatever, my favorite call is the surprise and delight call. It's a call where I talk to the expert and we think of all the ways we're going to surprise and delight their clients. Like it is my most fun call of the entire thing because I'm like, we could do this, we could do that, we could send them this thing, we could give them this surprise unlock lesson, we
Yeah.
could, like just like brainstorming all those things. And with my clients too, like my favorite thing is surprising and delighting them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was kind
Nah,
of a
it's so true. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and it does come from your childhood. But what I'll say on the pain side versus the pleasure wise is I've done this with hundreds of people. I've found their why with hundreds of people to this deep level. It's an internal why as well. What I find is a lot of times that I see people posting about, oh, my why is this and that, and I look at them and I go, no, those are your goals. Those aren't your why. Those are your goals. That's what you want to create. You want to create happiness for your kids, and that's a goal. It's not a why. It comes from it. But which is good, but does go deeper when you find it, as you've just heard Jasmine talk about. It literally is through your entire life and changes everything. But what I've found is that actually, and it's quite sad, but probably about 80 to 90% of people have a painful why, not a pleasure why. And actually, the ones with a pleasure why sometimes struggle more to actually attach it hard with emotion, because they're like, hey, well, I don't have any problems, and everybody else's why is this negative why and that. So it is true, and it just brings things for me while I'm creating this new, while we're in the beta process of this create from why, is I really need to focus on that, because most people that I talk to, it is from a painful side. So we're gonna have another chat, Jasmine, about this. So,
cool.
but it's so true. So coming from that side of a pleasure why instead of a painful why do you believe for you it's been so powerful and so passionate and been locked in there so hard?
It's my mom and dad.
Yeah.
I mean, like truly, like my mom and dad were just like, you can do anything you want to do.
Mm.
So like the word, like, and these are like, this is them, what they have said to me over and over and over again as a kid was like, you can do anything you want to. The world is your oyster.
Yeah.
You are the master of your own destiny. Like my mom, okay, my brother and I, probably 5 and 7. She put these Post-it notes on our mirror in our bathroom, like before Jack could even read.
Yeah.
No, like now everybody does that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's now a coaching.
It's
It's a coaching. Yeah. It's a coaching hack now.
my mom was doing this in like 1995, you guys, before the internet.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, in some ways it wasn't all good, because I have some perfectionist tendencies. I have the burnout thing is related to like achieving, but on the whole, I mean, holy cow, like they were both just always they just believed in us so much, and they just supported me so much that I can't imagine not coming from a place of pleasure, because I was always so safe. I was always taken care of. I always had people to listen to me, to validate my feelings. I was never made to be wrong. Like all of those things that just can truly mess people up, not mess people up, but give them limiting belief patterns. It's like, my consciousness just chose the right parents.
Yeah.
When I incarnated in this life.
That is very true, and I think on that as well, for people that are working to create their why, and come join me or reach out to Jasmine. We'll put her contact details down below. We'll go through those here shortly. But when we are creating our why, we always have to make sure that there's a positive aspect to it. We can't just live in that negative, like mine, creating less pain for myself and others to become the best version of ourselves. Because then it is yes, I've gone through some painful stuff in the past, but I'm not living from that. I'm living from the joy of going through that painful stuff. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change the fact that I had PTSD and depression and burnout from the police and all the traumatic things that I saw that doesn't even touch close to the scale of some of the colleagues that I worked with. But I wouldn't have any of it any different, because it created who I am now, and it is very powerful to go through those and know that you can, if you're in that right now and listening to this, you can come out of it and be the most powerful person. You actually can be more powerful than the people around you. So yeah. Any other words of wisdom from the lovely Jasmine on that?
No, I mean, I feel like you hit it, right? Like I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, PTSD back in 2015, I think. And you can definitely find a way to blame elegantly, like what
Mhm.
Tony talks about, right? Like you get to choose the meaning. You are the ultimate meaning maker in your life, and you get to write the story of what this means for you in the future. And even I think about like my health challenges. Like when I was freshman in college, I was so sick. I was like home on medical leave. I was nauseous for 7 years.
Whoa.
And I think about that, and my first coaching program that really hit it was called IBS Warrior.
Mm.
And so I think that a lot of times we only connect the dots really looking backward. We can't connect them looking forward, but the longer we have to live and connect backward, the more faith we have that when we're going through shit now, it will happen, it will make sense in the future. And so often now I just think, man, this is sucks. And it's going to be a funny story I tell on a podcast one day,
That's
you know?
it's so true. Like I constantly tell people, I like to use the analogy because I used to like playing Donkey Kong when I was a kid. Did you ever play Donkey Kong, Jazz? Yeah. So for some listeners, if you're young, you've never played Donkey Kong. It's an arcade where you go and you jump over barrels and you go up ladders and you get all the way to the top and you got to throw barrels at a big gorilla. If you don't, it pretty much, I mean, summing it up
Yeah.
really quickly,
I mean,
but
that's it.
that's pretty
Yeah.
much it. And you go level after level after level doing the same thing. It just becomes harder and harder and harder. That's life. We literally
Mm-hmm.
go off, bouncing over little struggles all the way along, and then we get to the top of a level and we get thrown a massive big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we either get knocked all the way back to the bottom and have to do the level all over again because we didn't learn the first time, or we have to do it a dozen times sometimes. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then we get past it and we go, wait a second, that level was really easy. Let's go to the next one. And so I like that one because it's real simple to think about, but it is. We literally look at it and go, oh yeah, this is gonna be funny in the future. It's like all the stuff that's going around in the world at the moment. It's like, yeah, we'll look at back at this in 5 years, 10 years, and go, yeah, that was tough, but we're stronger from it. And it's hard to remember that sometimes when you're in the moment. But like you said, look into your past, not from a poor me um, looking at it as this is all caused, this is all happened to me, and that, as Tony says, it all happens for us. But look at the patterns of, hey, actually, I've made it through all these different hard times. Dwayne Johnson talks a lot about it. He's like, I always look at my past and I look at where I came from because then it puts into perspective where I am and that it's not as bad as it was back then. And he's like, I always think about myself up against a wall, up against that wall, because if you're up against the wall, where else do you have to go except forward?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, so yeah, no, I love it. So Jasmine, if somebody is looking to, trying to figure out their why, because I know there's tons of people out there that have no idea why they do the things that they do and why they're driven from the internal level, not the surface level, but the internal. What would you say to them?
Talk to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But like, no, like really talk to you.
Okay.
I think it like introspection on your own is only so valuable.
Mm,
You really have to have a sounding board, really, in anything in life. I think creating in our own silos and our own echo chambers just causes so much more pain and struggle than if we talk it out, even if we text it out, even if we journal it out and send it to someone. Like we need some kind of feedback mechanism, which is why at every personal development ever, they're like, turn and talk to your partner. It's because in order to actually work through something, to have our brain muddle through it, and also from like an integration standpoint, like really understanding it and keeping it with you, we need to socialize the learning.
yeah.
And so talking about it with people is going to be the most helpful, and not just like hanging out by yourself. And I mean, there's something to be said too for when you're going through those tough times and you're not remembering your why, and you have this shitty story in your head and you're up at 2 a.m., like this whole what keeps you up at night question. Like if you've actually been up at 2 a.m. recently thinking about something, did you just wake up the next morning and move on with your day? Or did you find someone in your community to be like, hey, here's what I'm going through right now. Here's what I'm struggling with. Will you just like lend me your ear? Will you let me vent? I used to have this belief that if I was going through a struggle and I talked about it, I was somehow like manifesting it quicker, like, because they say your language creates your reality. But it's really, it's not just language, it's like energy. And so if we keep something bottled up and don't actually express it so that we can then transmute it and let it go, that's what manifests the fear, not the talking about it.
It's the energy behind it's the meaning behind the words as well
Right.
as the words.
Right.
If we put meaning behind it, that this is what's going to come to come and it's going to happen, then then it will. But if we're coming from a place of we want to say this so that it doesn't happen, so that we can get it off of our chest, it's what saved my life. I guarantee it. I went through PTSD, like major depression type stuff when I was a cop twice, where it was affecting my marriage. The last time, as you know, I almost got a divorce, almost cheated on my wife, and that's when I went, wow, there's majorly something wrong in my head right now. And so I started to actually see a counselor. The first time I told nobody that we were going through struggles or that we were having anything going on. My best friend who I'd see every month, who's another cop, he didn't even have a clue. The second time I told everybody. I literally screamed it from the rooftops pretty much. Once I kind of opened and started getting stuff. And then I went and I did that motorcycle trip that, about for the States, just to refine and connect into nature and to people. And I told everybody. Anybody who asked what I was up to and looked at my motorcycle, saw a bag strapped to the back and went, oh, what are you up to? I would go, I'm a cop from New Zealand. I'm suffering from PTSD and I'm here just refining myself and just going through and talking to people and just having fun. And they go, you watch their eyes go, whoa. And then they go, that's awesome. And then they open up to you.
Can we please do another episode? I don't know. You guys let us know in comments if you want another episode from this ranty girl, but we could totally do an episode on how solo travel will change your fucking life. And it might even save your life. Like solo travel, I don't know if you know this, but solo travel also saved my life.
No, I did not know that. Okay, let's book in another time. We'll do a follow up to this episode solely just on solo travel fighting the burnout. And that's what the title will be.
Love it.
Fighting the burnout with solo travel. Okay, cool. I'm going to note that down here. Okay, so
Did I answer the other question?
I think so. Yeah, you said come reach out to me and just, talk to people. And that's where I went on to about the talking with people because it's so important. I tell people, if you're a child listening to this, watch your ears, be brutally fucking honest. I tell everybody, be brutally fucking honest. If somebody asks you how your day is, tell them. Don't make it sound depressing. Like actually have a spin at the end. It's just like everything we need. Again, that manifestation. If we just are in that Nate, if you don't go, but I'm working through it, or because that's putting that manifestation out there. But otherwise, somebody asks you, be honest. We use how is your day as a filler constantly, and it is so annoying. I remember working at the hospital as security last year when COVID all kind of started, and the nurses would ask me, how's your day? And I'd be like, oh, today's a bit of a shit one. It's, a bit of a struggle. This stuff is all just kind of weird. My wife's not doing so well. But you know what? Tomorrow's going to be a better day. Or, hey, I'm talking to you, so it's already better. And they'd be stepped back. In the beginning, they were like, who is this guy?
He didn't just say good?
Yeah. Hey, why didn't he just say good and ask me it back?
Yeah.
And then we had these kind of conversations where it was like, and I got to know people in a deeper level than the security guards that were already there because I was like, hey, this is how I'm doing. How are you actually doing? How are you doing having to wear that mask every single day and having to wear, all the stresses of the unknowns and all that? How are you actually doing? And they tell me, and then they go, or they wouldn't. And I go, okay, cool. They're not ready to say.
In order to do that, though, you have to care and you have to have enough emotional intelligence and energetic intelligence that you've like cleaned yourself up. Yeah. Because in order to really care for people like that and hold that space, like you have to have yourself and your own shit kind of sorted out, and like that's like a new level of you have to have the awareness to know you have to clean yourself, clean up your energy, right?
I also believe that when you find that why and you find the rules around your why and around the things that give to you and don't give to you and you work through all that, which is what the program does, is that you end up being able to do that twice as fast because you're actually able to go, hey, I know what drives me. I know where I come from. I know where all my crap comes from. So I can work on it. And by
Yeah.
talking to you and hearing your crap, makes
Hmm.
it makes me work through my crap and helps me work through my crap even more. So no, I love it. So Jasmine, you obviously help people create courses, which we could be working together. But like I said, if I'm working with her, everybody else should be working with her too. But how do people reach out to you? How do they get in touch with you if they want to learn more about that, or maybe they want to just pick your brain about stuff you said today?
Sure. So my best place to get in touch is Instagram. It's just my name, Jasmine Jonte, on Instagram. I actually respond to my DMs, so you can DM me there. You can follow me to check out more stuff. And my website and things are on there as well. So if you want to send me an email, you can just go through the Instagram. It's
Cool.
easiest.
Perfect. I will put that. We'll put that up in the comments in the description down below, so you guys have instant access to that. But if you are just listening, then yeah, note that down in the mental notes. Uh, so I guess the last question is for you is what's your top tip to self happiness?
I don't think I was prepared for that. Okay, so honest, real answer.
Yeah.
Two things. Sorry, I can't pick one. There's two. Um, get a dog. Seriously, get a dog because they will make you get outside. They will make you walk. They will give you love when you feel like you don't deserve it. They will treat you how you should treat yourself.
I love that. I've never thought
So
about
get a
that.
dog. And the second one is volunteer. The world research shows that the happiest people in the world are volunteers. And I think we get to a place where we're adults and we're like, I'm busy. I work. I contribute like financially. I buy from businesses that are aligned with my values. I'm using my purchasing power. Like there's all these like buzzwords, but at the end of the day, when you go to like I volunteered at dog rescue, and when you go and you actually do that, you see how it affects other people. You see how it affects creatures that you're working with. If you're working with any kind of creatures, it volunteer, man. It's like it's and oh my gosh, the abundance of
Mm.
just being in a place and having no other purpose than just to serve. Like my phone is away. I'm not focused. I'm not doing emails. I'm not focused on business. I'm not focused on my family. I'm not focused on anything than just like being here to serve these people. In my instance, the dogs. Yeah, volunteer.
That's awesome. Oh, so much, so many little nuggets in this episode. I swear, I swear. I've known Jasmine. How long have I known you, Jasmine? What, 3 years almost
Three
now?
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about 3 years now. And I'm still learning stuff from Jasmine, so that's awesome.
Ditto, brother.
We're both growing, that's why. So, there you go. And when you're growing, you're being able to teach more. All right. So, any last words, Jasmine, before we wrap up?
Um, you got this.
Hmm.
Just whoever's listening, like you got this. Whatever you got this.
I
You can
love
do
it. I
it.
love it. So there you have it, guys. Jasmine, thanks again so much for being here. It's only taken a year and a half to get you onto the episode. My wife keeps giving me crap that I haven't got her on here, so I think we're gonna do her next.
Good.
Um, but after listening to this episode, I know I took away so much. I've got notes on notes on notes that I've been taking. So if you didn't get anything, go back and listen to it again because I can guarantee there's something in there that you just are not wanting to hear but need to hear.
Or
Uh,
something you know.
or something that you know but you're just not doing.
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
Listen
I
to you
know
going, I
that.
know that. I know that. I know
I know
that.
that. I know that. Yeah, but I'm not actually doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
but we want to always bring those tools to you. We always want to bring the little nuggets, as we call them, or that one thing. We talk about just taking that one thing away because otherwise we can get overloaded. If you're somebody who can take on three things, cool, grab the three things. I mean, geez, you got three of them there, especially if you're lady. The annual 90-day goals, you got the lady cycle planning, and you got the human design. There's three things right there. Just go do them. And get good at them. Uh, but if you are still struggling and you're like, hey, none of this is going to work and you don't know why and you want to figure it out, well, reach out to myself or Jasmine. You can reach out to me easily, fighttheburnoutpodcast@gmail.com. Pretty easy there. I'll respond. I'm the only one that responds to those emails. Or reach out to Jasmine via Instagram. Like she said, she answers her DMs. But we want to thank you again for listening. We hope that you did get something out of this, and that for me it created a little bit less pain, and for Jasmine it created a little bit more joy and happiness, and share it around as well. I guarantee there's somebody that you know that would get something out of this as well. So share it out. Also comment down below if you do want us to do that episode on just literally solo tripping to create less burnout. We'll probably do it anyways, but I want to hear what you guys want to actually specifically know about that.
We'll answer your
And
questions and give you a shout out.
yeah, exactly. Answer
We'll
questions,
tag
give
you.
you a shout out, tell us what you do. We'll even shout out what you do. I'm all about giving to others. Uh,
That's
and and then we'll go from there. But uh, otherwise, enjoy, have a great one. My motto is still train hard, test easy. This is why we do these. So we train our mind really hard. So when we are tested, when we do come up to Donkey Kong, we are able to to overcome him. Yeah. Anyways, I'll stop rambling now, and you guys have a great day. We love you all, and thanks for listening or watching. And till next time, yeah, peace out.